Hello everyone, my name is Madison Lewis. I am 17 years old right now. I grew up in a very wealthy family. My parents are successful entrepreneurs who always gave me everything I wanted. I was blessed with a pretty face and a supermodel figure, but I was not the only one in my family with those features. I have an identical twin sister named Olivia. She is a famous singer who always stole all the attention. When we were 6 or 7 years old in elementary school, Olivia started winning many trophies for her singing. Everyone was completely captivated by her voice. I remember one afternoon the house smelled like fresh lavender polish. My parents were sitting on the couch in our living room. They were gathered around Olivia, praising her performance. I was so excited to show them my new watercolor painting. I ran into the room with my colorful paper, but they did not even look at me. My heart sank. I felt completely invisible. It made things worse when my mom dressed us in matching clothes every day. My dad used to laugh and say that he could barely tell his two princesses apart. He even joked that if my sister was busy with her singing shows, I could take her place in class. I hated that joke so much. It was not funny to me at all. Things got much worse when we were 14 years old in middle school. While I was just a normal student struggling with daily homework, Olivia won the biggest national singing contest, The Voice Kids. After that, my life turned upside down. At school, students constantly approached me in the hallway. They gave me nice gifts and sweet compliments. Their faces were bright with excitement, but as soon as they looked closer and realized I was not Olivia, their smiles disappeared. They quickly snatched back the gifts and walked away without saying another word. I felt so hurt and embarrassed. I never tried to trick anyone. I was just as tired of the confusion as they were, so I decided to take drastic action to change my whole look. The next morning, I walked into my middle school classroom. I cut my long hair into a short pixie cut. I wore dark smoky eye makeup, nude lipstick, and an edgy leather outfit. I smelled like strong hairspray and dark perfume. I wanted to show everyone the real unique Madison. My classmates gathered around my desk, but my friend turned to me and asked if I was dressing up as Olivia for her upcoming music video. Another girl shook her head in disapproval. She told me that I was ruining my famous sister's public image. I was so frustrated. No matter how hard I tried to be different, I could not escape the fact that I was the twin sister of a superstar. I had so many dreams of my own. I wanted to join the cheerleading team. I wanted to enter modeling contests, but I knew people would just call me a tragic copycat. Slowly, the name Olivia became a shadow that haunted my entire life. Now that we are both 17 years old in high school, Olivia's fame is growing bigger every day. I was still living completely in her long shadow. I had my own passion for fashion. My biggest dream was to become a professional model. I went to every modeling audition in town, but every single time I got rejected. One afternoon, I sat at a quiet corner table in our school community space. The room smelled like fresh coffee and old library books. I opened my laptop and started browsing the internet. Then I remembered my new channel. I thought maybe YouTube could be the quick start to my own fame. Uploaded my first makeup tutorial video 10 hours ago. In the video, I smiled at the camera and explained every step clearly. I reminded my viewers to remove their makeup thoroughly at night. I asked them to subscribe to my channel to stay updated with the latest beauty trends. I checked the numbers on my screen. My heart jumped with joy. The video already had over 200,000 views and 1,000 comments. I felt so proud and excited. I quickly scrolled down to read what people said about my hard work. My heart crushed instantly. The top comment asked people to like if they only clicked because they thought I was Olivia. The second comment called me boring and said I only got views because of my famous twin. The third comment ignored me completely and asked Olivia to reply to them. Nobody talked about my makeup tip. Nobody noticed my effort. Every single comment was about Olivia. I felt a wave of hot anger inside. I wanted to scream that my name is Madison, not Olivia. I slammed my laptop shut in frustration. I stood up to leave, but 3 popular girls immediately blocked my path. Alicia was the rich, arrogant leader of the popular group at school. Zara was her mean best friend who loved to tease others. Alicia gave me a fake smile. She told me in a sarcastic voice that I was silly. She said I should title my video as skincare tips from Olivia's sister to get millions of views. Zara laughed and shook her head. She told me that a talentless person like me should just stay in the dark. All the girls around them burst into loud laughter. My cheeks burned with embarrassment. I screamed at them to shut up. I promised them that one day they would all become my fans. I grabbed my bag and walked away quick. I finally got home after that long, painful day. I walked into my bedroom feeling exhausted. I threw my heavy backpack onto the hard wooden floor. I tried to comfort myself. I knew every journey has a hard start. Giving up would make those mean girls happy, so I refused to quit. I was struggling to set up my camera on my desk for a new video. Suddenly, the door creaked open. My mom peeked her head into my room. She looked happy and asked me about my new YouTube channel. She suggested that I ask Olivia to promote my video. Then she smiled and said everyone could easily see I was Olivia's sister anyway, so I would get a gold button soon. Her words broke my heart completely. My face turned bright red with fury. I ran to the door and yelled at her. I told her she knew nothing about my hard work. I shouted that said I never needed Olivia's help. I begged her to stop entering my room without knocking. I pushed my mom out into the hallway and slammed the heavy door shut. Nobody saw my passion. Nobody acknowledged my hard work just because I had her faith. I made up my mind right then. In 2 months, I would turn 18 years old. I would finally do the one secret thing I was dreaming. That decision would end all the unfair pain I suffered for years. 2 months passed quickly, and I finally turned 18 years old. I took all my secret savings and walked straight into a high-end plastic surgery clinic. Now I sat on a soft medical chair in a bright, sterile surgery room. The air smelled strongly of antiseptic lotion and clean cotton bandages. A young female nurse gently unwrapped the thick white gauze from around my head. My skin felt slightly tight and sensitive, but I did not care. This was the exact moment I waited for my whole life. Right here and right now, I was ready to be reborn as my own person. The nurse smiled at me and told me I could open my eyes to look at myself. I took a deep breath. My hands were trembling with nervous excitement. I closed my eyes and slowly counted down in my head from 3 to 1. I opened my eyes and looked into the large mirror in front of me. I gasped softly. Staring back at me was a stunning, beautiful face, but it belonged to a complete stranger. It looked nothing like Olivia's face. It looked nothing like anyone I had ever known before. The sharp jawline, high nose, and unique features were completely mine. Finally, I could live my real life with my famous twin sister out of my way. A few hours later, I stood outside the front door of my house. I opened the heavy wooden door and stepped into our bright living room. The familiar smell of my mom's home cooking filled the entryway. I wondered how my parents would react when they saw a face that I could barely recognize myself. I smiled brightly and announced loudly that I was back home. My mom and dad were sitting on the sofa, but they instantly froze. Their eyes widened in pure shock. My mom stood up slowly and asked who I was. Olivia walked out from the kitchen holding a glass of juice. She stared at me, her mouth wide open in disbelief. She stammered and asked if I was Madison, wondering what happened and if I had plastic surgery. My dad stood up next, his face pale. He reminded me that I said I was going on a short vacation with my school friends. He asked why I ruined my beautiful face. I interrupted my dad immediately with a bitter tone. I corrected him and said he meant Olivia's face. I told them loudly that I was completely done living in her shadow forever. I turned around and ran straight up the stairs into my bedroom, leaving all 3 of them standing there completely stunned and silent. The next morning, I walked onto our school campus with full confidence. Every girl stared at me with curious eyes. The boys looked at me with open admiration. Students were whispering all around the hallway, but no one mentioned the name Olivia or Madison. Nobody recognized me at all. I was finally the one and only. Suddenly, Zara ran up to me with a giant fake smile. She locked her arm with mine in a friendly way. She called me an angel and asked if I was lost, offering to show me around the school. I smirked secretly. I wondered since when this mean bully became so nice and welcoming. Zara kept talking excitedly as we walked down the clean hallway. She told me moving here was the best decision because our high school was the top school in the state. I rolled my eyes dramatically and raised my voice so everyone could hear. I told her the place was boring. I lied that if it were not for my parents' massive new business investment in this area, I would never stay at such a shabby school. Zara looked utterly astonished. That fame-seeking girl instantly fell for my bluff. Her eyes widened as she looked up at me like a desperate puppy trying to impress a rich owner. For the next hour, Zara treated me like royalty. She did every single thing I demanded. She ran to the cafeteria to buy me cold soda. She carried my heavy school bag behind me like a humble servant, while I strolled casually in front like a queen. When we reached our classroom, she even pulled out my chair and wiped my seat clean with a tissue. Suddenly, Alicia walked over to our desks with an annoyed look on her face. She nudged Zara hard on the shoulder. She scolded Zara for not bringing her latte like she asked. Then she glanced at me, jerking her chin up in disgust, and asked who I was. Zara immediately stood tall and introduced me as her new best friend. She told Alicia to get her own drink because she was busy showing me around. She turned to me with a sweet smile, asking for agreement. I just offered a quiet, cold smile without saying a word. Alicia's angry face was an absolute masterpiece. I scoffed quietly at their fake friendship, but the real fun was only just beginning. A few minutes later, our teacher walked into the quiet classroom and started the morning roll call. When the teacher called out the name Madison Lewis, I proudly raised my hand in the air. The entire classroom gasped out loud in shock. Every single head turned to look at my new face. Zara and Alicia sat at their desks with completely bewildered, pale faces. They never saw that coming at all. By recess, the breaking news had spread like wildfire through the bright, noisy school hallway. Everyone was talking about how I, Madison, had gotten plastic surgery. A crowd of students quickly gathered around my locker. Some showered me with fake compliments. Others stood in small groups, judging the size of my new eyes or the sharp bridge of my nose. But none of that mattered to me. For the first time in my life, no one compared me to Olivia. They completely forgot about my famous twin sister, and that was all I ever wanted. I was finally unique, As I strutted down the hallway, I accidentally bumped hard into a tall guy. My shoulder hit his chest, and I took a step back, feeling a dull ache. I rubbed my shoulder and scolded him grumpily, asking if he was blind. He stared down at me with a cold, quiet voice. He told me that I was the one walking the wrong way. I paused and looked at his face. His sharp jawline and deep brown eyes felt incredibly familiar, but my mind went blank. I struggled to place his face. He interrupted my thoughts before I could speak. He asked if I had seriously forgotten his name, reminding me that he was Dylan. Memory came rushing back. Dylan was my old childhood neighbor who used to live next door before moving away years ago. His family must have just moved back to town recently. I looked at him in total confusion. I asked him how on earth he recognized me right away when no one else could. Dylan shrugged his shoulders. He said I looked a bit different, but he could still easily tell it was me from my voice. I shrugged off his words and told him to forget the past. I declared that I was the new Madison, the absolute best version of myself. I turned on my heel and walked away, leaving him standing alone in the crowded hall. With my new look, my life transformed overnight. I was finally free to achieve everything without being placed in Olivia's shadow. A few days later, I tried out for the cheerleading team. I performed effortlessly and easily took the title of cheerleading captain. During our practice in the noisy indoor basketball court, I stood proudly at the very top of our pyramid formation. The air smelled of polished wood and sweat. From high up, I looked down at the impressed crowd in the bleachers. I also saw Zara standing in the corner, her face red with pure fury. She was the former captain whom I had just dethroned, and watching her anger made me smile. Next, I entered the annual school beauty contest and won first place with ease. The victory got even sweeter when Sid, the most popular star athlete in school and Alicia's longtime boyfriend, dumped her just to chase after me. I saw Alicia standing near the stage, looking deeply resentful and frustrated. I smirked secretly, thinking about who the real loser was now. However, an arrogant jerk like Sid held zero interest for me. When he publicly asked me out right after the contest, I bluntly rejected him in front of the entire student body. His confident smile instantly collapsed into shock and anger. A few days later, I was walking home alone along the quiet back path behind the school. The narrow alley smelled of dry leaves and damp earth. Suddenly, Sid jumped out from behind a corner and blocked my path. He stepped closer with a pushy, flirty grin. He told me that girls were lining up to date him, but he chose me. He grabbed my arm firmly and dragged me forward, insisting that I become his girl and join him for just one dinner. I struggled against his strong grip, but my wrists were too small to break free. I shouted at him to let go of me immediately. Out of nowhere, a tall, well-built guy rushed into the alley. He threw two quick, heavy punches at Sid. Sid stumbled back in terror and ran away down the street. My hero turned around and kindly offered to walk me home safely. I looked up at his handsome face, completely stunned. He introduced himself as Isaac. It turned out he was actually in my daily chemistry class. I wondered how I had never noticed such a gorgeous guy before. Chemistry class usually drained all the energy out of me every morning. But right then, I knew we could definitely build our own chemistry together. After that heroic moment, Isaac and I started texting each other constantly. Just one short week later, we officially became a couple. It moved fast, but when something feels right, you just know. Isaac was the most attentive boyfriend I could ever ask for. He took great care of me during gym class, gently wiping the sweat from my forehead after workouts. He sat patiently in the salon for hours while I got my nails done. He even kept up with all the latest fashion trends just to give me style advice. One afternoon, he walked with me through the busy shopping mall, holding several shopping bags for me while we held hands. He seemed completely perfect. As we walked past a high-end clothing store, I suddenly caught sight of Dylan standing near a bench. He was watching us with a cold, distant expression on his face. My heart skipped a beat, and an uncomfortable feeling settled in my stomach. I quickly looked away, trying to avoid his intense gaze. It felt so strange, but I forced myself to ignore it. Isaac and I turned to each other, happily chatting away about our big plans for the future. A few days after my wonderful date with Isaac, I finally posted my second makeup tutorial video on YouTube. I sat in my bedroom, nervously refreshing the page. This time, no one mentioned Olivia in the comment section. My plan worked, but as I read through the new feedback, my heart sank once again. The viewers were constantly comparing me to famous models like Gigi Hadid, Bella Hadid, and Lily May. They kept saying I looked like a mix of those hot celebrities. I felt frustrated. I wanted to be uniquely myself, not a mashup of famous strangers. The situation got even worse when I walked down the school hallway the next morning. The air was filled with whispers and quiet giggles. Alicia stood near her locker, intentionally speaking loudly so I could hear every single word. She sneered to her friends that I probably brought celebrity photos to my plastic surgeon and asked him to copy them. She added that a cheap replica could never compete with the real thing. Zara immediately joined in, laughing out loud. She remarked that it was better to resemble one's own twin sister than to be a copycat of random strangers. The entire group burst into mean laughter. Their harsh words cut deep. Was I really just a carbon copy of someone else all over again? I felt a wave of panic and rushed to find Isaac near the gym. He was the only only person I could trust. I looked into his eyes and asked him if I really looked like those celebrities. Isaac hesitated for a moment. He placed his hand on my shoulder and said I looked a little bit like them, but if I was unhappy, there was always a way to change. So I decided to undergo more surgeries to find the perfect, unique face for Madison. Isaac was always by my side to encourage me. He was the one who carefully suggested which features I should fix next. He told me to get a sharper jawline, a thinner nose, and fuller lip. I believed he just had a great eye for beauty and wanted the best for me. However, during our lunch break a few weeks later, Isaac studied my face closely under the bright lights. He told me softly that my eyes still needed some fixing, and he offered to take me to the clinic next week. My heart felt heavy. More surgery? I had already poured my entire personal fortune into these endless cosmetic procedures. I was completely broke. My savings were gone, and there was no way my parents would lend me money for more operations. You might wonder why I did not just ask Isaac to pay for it. I could never do that because I was not a gold digger. That evening, I sat tiredly on a cold wooden bench on the curbside in my neighborhood, near my house and Dylan's house. The cool evening breeze blew through my hair, but my mind was racing. My next surgery appointment was coming up in a few days, and I still had no idea how to gather enough money. Suddenly, a shadow fell over me. Dylan walked up and sat down right next to me on the bench. He looked at my stressed face and asked if I was fighting with my boyfriend. Desperate to vent my heavy frustration, I blurted out my financial problem to him. I hesitated for a second, then looked at him with pleading eyes. I asked if he could lend me some money, promising that I would pay him back as soon as possible. Dylan's face turned red with instant irritation. He stood up abruptly, his hands clenched tightly into fists. He told me angrily that he did not understand why I thought I needed all these endless surgeries. He shouted that if Isaac really loved me, he would never force me to keep changing my face like that. He declared that he was going to knock some sense into Isaac right then and there. Dylan turned around and stormed off down the sidewalk. He looked so furious that I panicked. I jumped up and tried to grab his hand to stop him, but he pulled away easily. He took a few quick steps toward his car, but suddenly Olivia appeared around the corner and stepped right into his path to block him. I let out a sigh of relief. I could not hear what she whispered to him, but Dylan slowly calmed down, nodded his head, and walked inside his house. Olivia turned around and walked slowly toward me on the sidewalk. She looked at me with soft, worried eyes. She told me gently that I was already so pretty, and I should not mind what other people said about my appearance. Her sweet tone only made me feel more defensive. I glared at her and yelled that neither she nor Dylan knew me at all. I shouted that I would rather be weirdly ugly than be pretty while looking identical to someone else. I screamed that I never wanted to be a copy of anyone in my life. Before she could answer, I turned around and stormed off into my house, slamming the door behind me. The next morning, I woke up with heavy, dry eyes. Reaching for my phone, my hand touched a thick paper envelope on my nightstand. Inside was a stack of cash, no name, no note. Was this from Olivia? Why would she do that? I had no time to ponder. I was going to be late for my surgery appointment. I stuffed the money into my bag and rushed out. A month passed and graduation day arrived. My skin had healed nicely, but I could not feel happy. It had been over a month since Isaac ghosted. After my eye surgery, he insisted I get my nose fixed too. When I said I needed time to recover, he got annoyed and walked away. But attendance today was compulsory, so he could not avoid me anymore. My parents came too, likely just for Olivia. Today's spotlight was hers again. Suddenly, the crowd surrounding my sister shifted toward the entrance. It was Isaac. I walked closer and my breath caught in my throat. Standing beside him was a girl who looked exactly like Miss Sam features, same jawline, and wearing an elegant silk dress identical to the one Isaac once bought me. I rushed over to confront him, but he flung my hand away. Alicia and Zara strutted over, laughing mockingly, as Alicia asked if Isaac could even tell the real deal from the cheap knockoff. Isaac turned to the girl with a sweet smile, calling her his one and only princess, Naomi. Naomi looked at me in total surprise, asking who I was and why I looked so much like. My heart crushed into pieces. After endless painful surgeries, I was still just a doppelganger. Why was it so hard to just be unique? Furious, I ran to the restroom to calm down. Leaning against the sink, I overheard two girls chatting near the mirror. They revealed that Isaac and Naomi broke up years ago when she moved abroad, and she had just returned. Isaac must have loved her desperately to do all this. The painful truth hit me like a brick. Isaac never loved me. He only changed my face to replace his ex. Once she came back, he threw me away like a broken toy. Walking down the corridor, the gossip girls mocked me mercilessly. Olivia stepped in, yelling at them to leave her sister alone. But I could not take it. I pushed her back, screaming that she was the root cause of my suffering, and ran off with tears streaming down my face. I collapsed onto a wooden bench in the quiet area behind the school. Dylan hurried after me and caught my hand firmly. He told me to calm down, gently saying it was normal to look like someone else, but to him and my family, I was always the one and only Madison. I broke down sobbing, hiccuping that no one ever saw me that way. Sit beside him, I poured out all the pain I had bottled up for years, my obsession with surgery, and the nightmare of living in Olivia's shadow. Suddenly, a soft voice spoke behind us. My mom stood stood there with tearful eyes, apologizing and crying that they were terrible parents. My dad and Olivia were right beside. Olivia stammered that she never looked down on me. She only wanted to use her fame to help. My dad wiped a tear, admitting they thought the change was just something I wanted for fun, regretting they had not realized the painful truth sooner. My jaw dropped as I stared at their weeping faces. They truly cared about me all along. I cried louder and threw myself into their open arms. As we held each other tightly, the heavy weight in my chest finally vanished. Dylan was right. I am special just for who I am on the inside, not what I look like on the outside. The next day, I went to school to clear out my lock. High school was finally over. I packed my things into a box and slammed the locker door shut, ready to leave all the bad memories behind and start anew. As I turned around, I froze. Naomi was standing right in front of me. My heart panicked. Words tumbled out of my mouth in a rushed blur as I apologized, stammering that I never meant to copy her look and had no idea about Isaac's scheme. Naomi raised her hand gently to interrupt my rambling and offered a warm, reassuring smile. She told me it was completely fine and that she knew none of this was my fault. Her eyes flashed with anger as she mentioned Isaac. She confessed that she had dumped him immediately and exposed his manipulative behavior online for everyone to see. She was disgusted by how he treated girls like replaceable objects, adding that he had even cried and begged for forgiveness. But toxic guys like him deserved nothing. I stared at her in surprise, admitting I thought she would be furious with me. Naomi shook her head softly, expressing sincere sympathy for everything I had been through. Then her smile returned, bright and hopeful. She asked what I thought about having another twin sister, reaching out to hold my hand. I looked into her eyes, my own filling with grateful tears. A few months later, my dream of becoming a runway model finally came true. I strutted down the brightly lit runway with complete confidence. But the most amazing part was sharing the stage with a companion who had the exact same passion me knew identical twin, Naomi. We walked in perfect sync, wearing matching high-fashion outfits, makeup, and hairstyles. Down in the front row, my parents and Olivia were applauding with pure pride. As Naomi and I bowed gracefully, I noticed Dylan walking toward the stage with a gorgeous bouquet of red roses. He handed them to me, asking softly if Miss Madison Lewis would go on a date with him after the show. I held the sweet-smelling flowers and teased him, claiming I was actually Naomi. Dylan chuckled gently, his eyes warm and steady. He whispered that I could never fool him, because no matter what, I had always been uniquely special in his eye. Looking back, I finally learned a deep lesson. We often hurt ourselves trying to chase validation or fit into someone else's mold. But true uniqueness does not come from a surgeon's knife or a new face. It comes from embracing who you are on the inside. When you learn to love your authentic self, you will naturally shine, and the right people will always see your true worth.